Get ready to be shocked and amazed by the sheer scale of the illegal drug trade. Today we're diving into the biggest drug seizures in the world and the staggering amount of drugs that were taken off the streets. The illegal drug trade is one of the most profitable and lucrative businesses in the world. The sale of drugs generates billions of dollars per year, which means there are plenty of criminals willing to take the risk of getting caught in order to make a hefty profit. These are some of the biggest drug busts in history. San Francisco bust 1991. 1,059 pounds of heroin worth $5 million. San Francisco law enforcement officials discovered 1,059 pounds of heroin in 2 trucks parked near the city's waterfront. At that time, this was one of the largest drug busts in U.S. history and represented an estimated $5 million value on the street. The drugs were hidden inside containers that had been shipped from Thailand through Los Angeles. At the time of the bust, U.S. Customs estimated that approximately 10% of all heroin imported into North America came through San Francisco. The seizure was so large that it caused a temporary shortage of heroin on the streets in San Francisco and prompted a spike in drug prices throughout America. Mexican drug tunnel, 2016. 1.1 tons of marijuana and 2.2 tons cocaine worth $61 million. Drug trafficking between Mexico and the United States is not an uncommon occurrence. For decades, underground tunnels have served as a preferred method for smuggling drugs between the two countries. The 2016 drugs haul is a testament to this trend, with authorities confiscating a massive 1.1 tons of marijuana and 2.2 tons of cocaine from a sophisticated tunnel stretching half a mile from Otay Mesa to Tijuana. This remarkable feat of engineering, believed to be the longest of its kind, highlights the relentless ingenuity of drug traffickers, although the exact value of the haul remains undisclosed. Estimates put it at a staggering $61 million, demonstrating the sheer scale of the illicit drug trade that has been going on for decades. The tunnel was equipped with ventilation, lighting, and rails for carts to transport drugs across the border. It is believed that the cartel responsible for this operation had been using it for years before its discovery by U.S. authorities in 2016, demonstrating how even the most sophisticated attempts at curbing drug trafficking are often futile in the face of relentless innovation from traffickers themselves. Operation Aussie X, 4.4 tons of MDMA worth $309 million. In 2008, Operation Aussie X was a joint effort between the Australian Border Force and Australian Federal Police to bust a drug ring that was responsible for importing 4.4 tons of MDMA into Australia. It's estimated that the drugs had a street value of $309 million. The drug bust itself was one of the largest in Australian history, and it also led to the arrest of 25 people from around the world, including dock workers, freight haulers, and drug ring leaders. The drugs were smuggled into Australia via Italy inside 3,000 cans of tomatoes and arrived at the docks in Melbourne. The drugs were then distributed across Australia by a network of couriers who would take them from airports to various apartments. It is estimated that the syndicate smuggled about 19 tons of drugs into Australia. Afghanistan, 2008. 260 tons of hashish worth $376 million. A stash of hashish was found in underground military trenches and bunkers in Afghanistan. There was approximately 260 tons, the equivalent to the weight of 30 double-decker buses. It also has a whopping net value of $376 million. Rather than waste man-hours trying to remove the stash, the military took a rather unusual approach to getting rid of the hash. They opted to call in an airstrike to destroy the trenches and bunkers that held the stash. The airstrike had the desired effect and destroyed both the hash and the structures holding it. Australia, 2014. 2.8 tons of methamphetamine worth $1.5 billion. Law enforcement in Australia made a major triumph in the fight against dangerous drugs, stopping a shipment of 2.8 tons of methamphetamine or ice, worth a staggering $1.5 billion. With clever concealment techniques, the drugs were shipped in a sea cargo container all the way from Hamburg, Germany, and carefully disguised within furniture. However, the determined efforts of Australian authorities paid off with the successful interception of this dangerous shipment. The shipment was stopped at Sydney's Port Botany, The bust was the result of a joint operation between Australian Border Force and New South Wales Police, with assistance from the Australian Federal Police. This is one of the largest seizures ever made in Australia, which has been experiencing an increase in drug trafficking through sea cargo containers. If you think the busts so far have been impressive, just wait for our next two seizures. Colombia 1984, 13.8 tons of cocaine worth $2.2 billion. No drug bust list would be complete without a Pablo Escobar appearance. On March 10, 1984, Colombian National Police, along with the US DEA, raided Escobar's Tranquilandia complex. A drug-making laboratory was destroyed and 13.8 tons of cocaine, worth $2.2 billion, was seized. Although this was just a fraction of his estimated yearly income of $25 billion, Pablo Escobar was the mastermind behind one of the largest and most lucrative cocaine empires in history. With a daily income in the millions, Escobar was responsible for supplying a staggering 50% of all cocaine to the United States. To meet the demand, he utilized everything from boats and planes to helicopters and submarines to smuggle his drugs to the market. California Hall 1989, 21 tons of cocaine worth $13 billion. A residential community in California's San Gabriel Mountains was shocked to learn that one of its residents was a major player in the cocaine trade. Rafael Munoz Talavera, a notorious cartel kingpin, had his warehouse raided, yielding a record-breaking 21 tons of cocaine. Although this was a fraction of the 77 tons that had passed through the warehouse in the previous year, it still had a street value of $13 billion and enough quantity for every person in the United States to have 5 lines of cocaine each. The cost of trafficking such a massive amount of drugs was steep, with Talavera having spent $81 million on transportation alone. In addition to the cocaine, police also found $12 million in cash. Despite the efforts of law enforcement agencies, the drug trade continues to generate billions of dollars in profits and attract criminal organizations. The drug trade is a global industry that has remained profitable for decades. It is estimated that the global drug trade generates $300 billion per year, which is more than all illegal activities combined. This was some of the biggest drug busts in the world. If you've any suggestions, or if we left out a bust from our list, please let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe for more videos weekly.